Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Today's date is June the 11th, 2024. This is a regular board meeting for the Richland 1 School Board of Commissioners. We are located at the Stevenson Administration Building, which is the address of 1616 Richland Street, Columbia, South Carolina, 29201. We'd like to read a statement before we go into the agenda. Pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, all persons, organizations, media outlets, as requested, have been notified of the time, date, place, and agenda of this meeting. At this time, we do have an agenda set before us for executive session. I'd like to entertain a motion from the board.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion? Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. The 3.01, is that related to the original draft agenda about personnel matter regarding the scope, manner, distribution of internal audits?
When you say the original draft, this was the original draft that was released before 6:15?
No, sir. The original posted agenda that came out yesterday at 3.01, and it said personnel matter regarding the scope, manner, and distribution of internal audits, investigations presented by Dr. Bishop. So is this, and then we got an amendment email about an hour or so later. Is this amendment related to the original drafted 3.01?
I'm believing that this is the same one. I'm not sure whether you talk with any addendum or any change.
Okay.
Dr. Witherspoon, was there a change?
Do I need to see the original agenda?
Mr. Chair, this is a different item than the original.
So this is not related to the internal audit investigation that was originally posted?
It's a different item.
And so not related. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, it's a different item.
It's a different item.
So I want to make clear this is not related to the internal audit in any way.
The item stands as it's printed.
It shouldn't be that hard of a question.
It's the item as printed.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's any differentiation here, but I'm believing it's the same item that was approved yesterday.
Who's presenting?
Richardson.
Who's going to present the legal advice?
It will be Attorney Borkins.
And is the legal advice related to a pending or threatened lawsuit?
No, not a threatened lawsuit, right, Attorney Richardson?
And is it related to a potential claim for a lawsuit,
It is not.
Okay. And is it related to a settlement of any legal claims?
It is not.
Okay. My concern is that if this is in any way touches on what the original agenda item said, it's going to look like we're using legal, because the original agenda item was, I don't think, sufficient to warrant executive session. And it's going to look like we're using the phrase legal advice to get around that requirement if this is at all related to the same topic. And that's going to be problematic, I believe.
What I will say is it is related to a personnel matter.
And is it related to us disciplining an employee?
No.
I cannot answer that.
Okay. So is it related to the discussion of an employment of an employee? The current or continued employment?
Personnel, yes.
Okay. I want to make sure that what we're being told is that this comes under 30-4-70A1 then.
Yes.
So the legal advice, it does not come under the legal advice exception. Is that correct?
So it would fit under both because it's legal advice related to a personnel matter.
But the legal advice exception specifically talks about pending litigation, threatened litigation, settlement discussion. So it's none of those things, right?
Correct in that regard.
Okay.
Yes. But it is legal advice related to the employment or employee in essence of a personnel matter.
And Dr. Richardson, in your legal opinion, it was the first draft of the agenda sufficient to warrant executive session personnel matter regarding the scope, manner, distribution of internal audits?
What I will say is that what it was intended to do is discuss a personnel matter. And it was changed to ensure that it is sufficient to discuss a personnel matter.
All right, thank you, Chairman Bishop.
All right? Any other question or discussion? Okay, now we'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
All right, that is 6 yeas, 1 opposition, 1 nay. The motion passed. At this time, we're now going to executive session. Oh, excuse me. Let me read. Item 3.01, legal advice regarding confidential personnel investigation, presented by Dr. Bishop. Then we have item 4.01, HR personnel update, presented by Dr. Coombs. Item 4.02, hiring of personnel, presented by Dr. Coombs. We will now go into executive session. Thank you. Good evening. Today's date is June 11, 2024. This is a regular board meeting of the Richland 1 School Board of Commissioners for Richland School District 1. We are located at 1616 Richland Street, Columbia, South Carolina 29201. We'd like to read a statement. Pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act for you, all persons, organizations, and media outlets, as requested, have been notified of the time, date, place, and agenda of this meeting. We did have executive session where we went into executive session at what time, Secretary Treasurer?
6:27.
And then we went into it at 6:27?
We voted at 6:22. We began executive session at 6:27.
6:17, I think.
We started the meeting at 6:15. I don't think we got through it.
Okay, all right. All right, so 6:22 is what the Secretary Treasurer said. We go by that record. And then what time did we come out of executive session, Secretary Treasurer?
6:49.
All right, can you tell us what those motions were? Who?
Moved by myself, Commissioner Lominack, seconded by Commissioner Devine. It was a unanimous vote.
All right, all clear? Parliamentarian, that's all good?
Yes, sir.
All right, we now call this meeting to order. We'll start off with item 6.01, which is the invocation, which will be done by Commissioner Clyburn, Angela Clyburn.
Thank you, Chair. May we all bow our heads. Lord, we come before you on this day to thank you for your watch and the gifts you bestow upon us every day and every hour. Any of those with ill wills are met with your grace, your goodness, and your mercy, because only you have the ability to change hearts and minds that affect positive change in our communities and for our children. Lord, we ask all of these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Clyburn, thank you for everything that you do in this community, and thank you for your service to this board. Again, thank you, Commissioner Angela Clyburn. We're now at item 6.02, which is agenda adoption. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval. Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Harris. Question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll now cast our vote. Do you want to do this electronically or manually? Manually. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0 vote. Please be advised that all commissioners are seated and in place at this time. Item 6.03, which is memorial resolution, which will be presented at this time. At this time, with the family and friends, Edward D. Chambers come forth at this time. Thank you. Will all the commissioners please stand? In memoriam Edward D. Chambers, whereas Edward D. Chambers was an English teacher and English department chairman at Columbia High School in Richland County School District 1, and whereas he gave 15 years of dedicated service to Columbia High and Richland 1, and whereas he departed this life on the 29th day of September in the year of 2023. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the members of Richland 1 Board of School Commissioners that the name of Edward D. Chambers and the memory of his contributions not be forgotten. Further, that this resolution may be enrolled in the records of this institution and as an expression of sincere appreciation for his service, a copy be given to the family, signed by Commissioner Dr. Aaron Bishop, Chairman, Commissioner Angela Clyburn, Vice Chairman, Commissioner Robert Lomanak, Secretary Treasurer, Commissioner Jamie Devine, Parliamentarian, Commissioner Cheryl Harris, Commissioner Tamika Myers, Commissioner Barbara Weston, members. Richland 1 School Board of Commissioners.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Just get back in for the record. I don't know if you get that wide. That's very wide. That's why I came back. Get it at the angle.
Do a palm pitching.
All right.
Now turn sideways, one to sideways. Turn to your left. There you go. There you go.
Do it down the line like this. All right, everybody, we're looking right here. Okay. And 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2. Okay.
No splice.
Thank you.
Good.
Would y'all mind remaining standing as the board? Will the family of Debbie McDonald please come to the front? Memoriam Debbie McDonald. Whereas Debbie McDonald was the in-school suspension supervisor at Hayward Career and Technology Center in Richland County School District 1. And whereas she began her tenure in the district in 2001 as a substitute, becoming the lead substitute at Lower Richland High School in 2002. In 2007, she began working at Hayward, where she also assisted nutrition services with serving lunch to students, and whereas she gave 23 years of dedicated service to Richland 1, and whereas she departed this life on the 18th day of May in the year 2024, and now therefore be it resolved by the members of the Richland One School Board of Commissioners that the name of Debbie McDonald and the memory of her contributions not be forgotten. Further, that this resolution may be enrolled in the records of the institution and as an expression of sincere appreciation of her services, a copy be given to her family, signed by all 7 commissioners. Thank you.
All right, we're all looking right here. You see it? There it is. All right, everybody, here we go. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Family and friends of Sam Williams Jr. Please come to the front. Memoriam Sam Williams Jr. Whereas Sam Williams Jr. was a custodian at the Waverly Administration Building in Richland County School District 1. And whereas he gave 2 years of dedicated service to Waverly and Richland 1. And whereas he departed this life on the 3rd day of June in the year of 2024. Now therefore be it resolved by the members of the Richland 1 Board of School Commissioners that the name of Sam Willis Jr. and the memory of his contributions not be forgotten. Further, that this resolution may be enrolled in the records of the institution and as an expression of sincere appreciation for his service, a copy of this be given to his family, signed by all 7 commissioners of Richland School District 1.
I just want to say we all really miss Mr. Sanders. So here.
Mr. Hughes, would you like to? Mr. Hughes, would you like to?
All right, everybody, we're looking right here. Okay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Family of Carol Goodwin here. All right? I'll still read it and we'll present it to the family at a later date. Memoriam of Carol A. Goodwin. Whereas Carol A. Goodwin was a food service worker at Carver Lyon Elementary School in Richland County School District 1. And whereas she gave 5 years of dedicated service to Carver Lyon and Richland 1, and whereas she departed this life on the 15th day of September in the year of 2023, and now therefore be it resolved by the members of the Richland 1 Board of School Commissioners that the name of Carol A. Goodwin and the memory of her contributions not be forgotten. Further, that this resolution may be enrolled in the records of the institution and the expression of sincere appreciation of her service. A copy be given to her family, signed by all 7 commissioners. Thank you. Okay, yeah, my bad, sorry.
I'm just posing.
Members on the back, y'all can scoot this way. All right, everybody. Try to get everybody in here. All right, well, that's right there. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We now move to item 6.04, which is the budget overview process, which was presented by Ms. Bing.
Good evening, Chairman Bishop, Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon. On this afternoon, we're going to review our general fund budget process. One moment, I think I have the incorrect slides. As the incorrect slide is on the screen, you guys did receive a presentation with the slides before you. I will go over those slides in this presentation. On slide 1, there is a Richland 1 timeline. This timeline reflects what we currently do at Richland School District 1. During February and March, we conduct a budget, community, and staff input session. Around April, we look at our board budget work session. And in May, we have the first reading of the approval for the proposed budget. In June, we have our second reading for the approval for the proposed budget. And in June and July, we have our public hearing and third reading approval for the proposed budget. During this time frame, we review our state mandates, looking at our teacher and bus driver salary, as well as monitoring the movement within our state legislative session, and also relaying and reviewing our district needs. Slide 2, we have our how Richland 1 is funded. Richland 1 is currently funded based off of State Code 5920, which reference education. 5920 is state aid to classroom, 592050. This code particularly references the funds appropriated herein with state aid to classroom, which represent the state share of the total aid to classroom. And it has 75% of our funding. The local share is 25% of our total program. This is also how we fund our personnel and our district budget. So as I've presented in prior presentations, our personnel is 80 to 85% portion of our general fund budget. That is 80 to 85% of our personnel, which is salaries and benefits. And then the 75% that we receive from the state is a portion of our teachers' salaries and bus driver salaries. And that is funded at the minimum, the state minimum. And as you guys may be aware, Richland 1 is above the state minimum. So the state does not give us additional funding based on the additional increase that we have above the state minimum salary scales. The county, which is our local share, they are to fund 25% of our funding based on the state code 59-2050. And the county's funding covers our classified staff salaries as well as our classified staff retirement. It also covers items such as our small class sizes, rural stipends, small school supplements, our neighborhood schools, and additional school needs that we have throughout the school year. State aid to classroom is based on a weighted pupil unit formula. This formula did change in fiscal year 22. That was a state legislative change. This has been addressed to where all districts are now placed into a pot for funding, and we are funded based on our weighted pupil unit proportionate share. Let's discuss our state legislative timeline. Our state legislative timeline begins in our House Ways and Means, where they create and present a proposed budget to our Senate. This then goes to the Senate for review of the proposed budget process and presents a proposed legislative Senate copy to the House for a review of what changes they would make, considering it being a conference timeframe. After that is completed, they may or may not come up with a resolution during the conference period. State legislative sessions typically ends in May, with possible June or July final budget extensions. Currently this year, our House created a budget, our Senate reduced the budget by $30 million, and we're currently waiting for conference to resume in June. Richland County Council timeline. In May, we submit a request to the county, which I came before you guys in April to discuss what our millage needs were based on our needs-based budget. And that discussion then tends to go to our county for submission, and our county has first and second reading as well as a third reading. Typically, your first reading is in May, with your second and third reading following in June. Our county this year has completed the first and second reading, and they have had public hearing, and we presented on May 23rd for public hearing for this fiscal year. We presented a meal cap request to the county in May, and that was to cover our needs-based budget. Things that we do have expenses such as our SRO contracts that we have for security services. Those are also determined by the county, as the SROs are funded partially by the county. So if they implement an increase to our SROs, then that increase is pushed down to the districts to cover that needs. Act 388. Act 388 was passed in 2006. And prior to Act 388, owner-occupied home was taxed. And after Act 388 was passed in 2006, owner-occupied home was exempt from all school operation taxes, which means there was a $0 impact to a legal residence of the value of a home. Estimated current county revenue, with no millage increase, we're looking at $270.9 million. With a mill cap increase, we're looking at $278.8 million. And that is roughly a difference of county revenue of $7.9 million. The current value of the operating millage is $672,000. Our current annual millage cap increase effect. Right now, as I mentioned at 388, means that there is a $0 effect to the legal resident status. So if that is your legal home, that is a $0 effect to that residence. However, for commercial and rental properties, there is an effect of $67.20 per $100,000 value of that property. As you can see here, we created a chart to show the impact of our operational millage increase. Our legal residents, again, at 388 passed in 2006, and that means that a legal residence has a $0 effect based on the passing of a millage increase for operational millage. However, you can see we did provide some examples of how our operating millage is impacted. This is based off of county auditors' numbers that was reported last week of a millage impact of $67.20 per $100,000. So as you can see, a $364,000 restaurant will have an annual impact of $245, but a monthly impact of $20.42. And I equivalent that to a meal at McDonald's or Zaxby's or wherever we may be. And then we have our rental homes, which is at the lower end. They did not hit the $100,000 tax value. So if a rental home is $70,100, their annual impact for operation millage increase is $47.11, which equates to $3.93 each month, which at this time you can purchase a burger or fries with that $3.93. Before you guys, there is a state mandated and new program personnel request. And this request is what we submitted to our county based on our budget. This has also been in all of you guys' budget packages that has been presented in our first reading and in committee as we discussed second reading. Our total budgeted expenses for this fiscal year is $31 million. And we're looking at our state funding breakdown versus our county breakdown. As you can see, state funding breakdown totals $9.8 million. Now, this is based off of the program request that we have placed in our proposed budget. Based off our proposed budget needs, all items, with exception to teacher salary increase, teacher salaries, retirement and fringes, salary increase for classified bus drivers, and employer health are not funded by the state. The state do provide us funding for our teachers and our bus drivers, and that is based off of that 75% local share. And that is also based off a state minimum salary. So again, as I mentioned, for fiscal year 25, we're looking at a $47,000 minimum for the state. However, Richland 1 is proposing a $50,100 minimum, and we are responsible for requesting that overage, which is responsibility of the county per state code 592050. And this concludes my presentation.
Ms. Bing, thank you for your presentation. At this time, we will like to take any questions from the board. At this time, any questions about the presentation? Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few questions, Ms. Bing, for clarification. On that increase with us asking for the cap, that is a zero effect on owner occupied, which means the home you live in would not be impacted. Your taxes would not increase by us requesting this. That's a zero effect to them.
That is correct.
However, our commercial and rental properties, as you talked about, the flower shop, et cetera, would be impacted by this. I think this is some information we got from the auditor, Richland County auditor.
Yes.
That says between $60, $70 increase on a $100,000 pretty much business or rental property.
$67.20.
Okay, so here's my question and also point of clarification. With the $47,000 that the state is asking for teachers, we're going to receive 75% of the $47,000 from the state.
Based off of a 11.2 teacher ratio,
Right.
and our district proportionate share of our weighted pupil units.
Right. So that other portion outside of that comes from our county dollars to make up the $47,000.
Correct.
However, our district, Dr. Witherspoon, you can answer this. We're asking for $50,100. Reason being is we're trying to remain competitive because right now our surrounding districts are proposing $50,000, correct? So we could have a major influx of losing teachers in our district if we are not setting that salary at a what I consider a aggressive number. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
And our neighboring districts have already pretty much passed somewhat of their budget, correct? Or they're in the same phases as us?
They are in the same phases as
Okay.
us.
All right. And then one last question. I know in committee we requested that this information be shared with the county because I think that there was some information that might have gotten construed to make sure that they understood all of this does not. Because I know the last time we took up a vote with the county after the fact, there were discussions of things that they didn't realize. So we've made sure that they understand and know that this is owner non-occupied. This is businesses that would be, experiencing this increase.
That is correct.
Okay, and when we talk about our increases, our insurance has gone up 11, almost 12%.
11.8.
Okay, and then the SROs have had an increase as well.
Roughly about 400,000.
400,000, so close to 100 million. I mean, $500,000. Okay, and then also, ESSER. We're losing the ESSER funds.
That is correct.
And that's about $7 million. About $7 million? Am I
Yes.
right? Okay. So again, we would have a lack of the summer programs, that's summer SOAR, that's the summer remediation, and several other programs that the district depends on to get our children through until the next, pretty much the programs we got going on right now
Yes.
would not be funded. Okay. Also, and they're still in committee conference in this month, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So we're trying to pass this budget pretty much with the county without even having our final numbers from the state. But we are operating under a continual resolution.
That is
Matthew
correct.
Hazel?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. All right. All right, Mr. Chair, I think that's all of my questions for right now. I think I had two more, but I forgot them.
All right, and
Thank you.
Commissioner Lomanak, then Commissioner Weston.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. Just so I understand, the state mandated versus what we hope to raise our salaries to, what's the difference in cost to the district as a whole? In other words, if and I'm not saying we do this, I just want to know the money amount. If we just went to the bare minimum that the state's requiring of $47,000, how much would that cost the district?
That was roughly $8 million.
And then to go to what we want to go to, the 50,100 as starting, how much does that add?
That adds on the $4 million. So that gives you the total of the $12 million.
Gotcha. Okay. I just wanted to know what that breakdown was out of that 12 million. And just to make sure, am I right that the last vote by county was to give us about 271 million?
Yes.
Okay. And how much more or less is that than we got last year from the county?
So last year, the county granted us the base. It was roughly about 265 million. So we're looking at about a $7 million increase from the county based off the no meal that we did receive last year and what we have right now.
So we got about 265. Now we're getting 278. So almost 13 million then, right?
278 is the meal cap.
Right. I mean, 270. Okay.
Yes.
So we're getting, you said 7 million more this year than last year?
Roughly about 6-7 million.
Okay. That's all I have for right now.
All right, Commissioner Weston.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the wisdom of County Council when they still gave us a lot of money when we have less students, less staff, and more vacancies. And so looking at this, we just have to come up with the funds that they will not fund. Is that correct?
The funding based off of the state or the funding based off of the local?
Right now, I'm looking at the local, but we will have the state to add into this, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question at this time? All right, Commissioner Harris, then Commissioner Lomanak.
Just for clarification, Dr. Witherspoon, several years ago, this district went to a zero-based budgeting, and I believe you were the superintendent at the time. We went to zero-based budgeting to make sure that when we were requesting dollars from the state and the county, it was pretty much exactly what we would need to operate for that school year, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, is this a zero-based budget that you provided for this board?
For this year as well, as we work the budget process, as Ms. Bing indicated, we start with departments and other asks, and before knowing or not knowing what we will get, but knowing some trends, if you will, there are some decisions made, if you will, administratively before we present something to you all.
Okay.
Because that number would be much higher.
Okay. And then one final question, Ms. Bing, and you alluded to this in your presentation. I think it's very important when we were talking about the budget. Some time ago, the state decided to put 2022, I believe, was to change the way we were funded. There were special pots of money that we received, Ms. Matthew Hazel. When they changed this, I think we ended up where they looked like the general fund had increased, other dollars decreased. So at the end of the day, we didn't really gain more money. We lost about $6 or $7 million.
Roughly.
Have you seen that money since 2022 provided for us from the state to make up that additional dollar that we've been shortfalled on pretty much since that change?
We have not.
So we're trying to get through, even with them getting rid of those different pots of money, dumping everything into general fund. That was almost a $6 million loss for us. But even with that, we're still doing our zero-based budget. We are working the numbers as to make sure that what we need to operate is done based on even losing that additional money that we had, I think, for speds and different things like that. There were different categories that we no longer have anymore. With those categories being removed, we actually get less money from the state?
That is correct. They provided additional weighting, which provided additional funding.
Right.
So when they moved it back to the regular general fund pot, that removed the additional funding that we were receiving for the career specialists, physical education. Those are just a few of the categories that went into that generic pot.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to provide that point of clarification as well. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. You had mentioned SROs earlier, and if the county increased their SRO expenses and contracts, that would increase ours, right?
That is correct.
I'm looking, and we'll get to this in a little bit because that's on the agenda, but it looks like we're going to be spending less next year on SROs from the county than we did last year. So I take it they did not increase the SRO expenses in any way that impacted us for this budget. Is that right?
They have not, and I personally have not watched that portion of the budget. However, the county has not finished and finalized their budget yet. So the SROs are in the same pot of going through and requesting whatever needs they may have. And at this time, based off the contract, that is the current dollar figure that they have provided us.
Okay. And when I'm looking at the Richland County School District 1 General Fund Budget Overview document you provided in the slide deck for today, the bottom number is, let's just round it to 22 million. All of these things add up to, right?
For all of these items add up to the 31.6 million.
Okay, 31.6. And almost 10 of that is covered by the state.
Correct.
Right. And so basically what the administration was asking for was 22 million to fund from the county, right?
Correct.
And am I right that they gave 15 million out of that 22 million was their last vote? So that we're short, from the administration's perspective, we're short 7 million?
When you say out of their last vote, can you
Well,
clarify?
the third vote from county council, if that became their final vote, would we have gotten 15 out of that $22 million that we're asking for from the county?
I'll have to clarify that exact number.
Well, so in other words, if that vote were final today, how much would we need to find or cut? What's the deficit? What's the difference?
Wouldn't that be that 7.9 million?
That is the 7.9 difference
the-
that you're seeing on
Right,
that
okay.
page.
And I think that's where I'm getting the 15 million. I mean, it looks to me like out of the overall request, our max request of 22 million, we got close to 15 million out of that 22 million. So we're around $7 or so million
Correct.
short if that went into effect. Okay, thank you, Chairman Bishop.
Any other questions? Is that a hand, Commissioner
Yes, it
Weston?
is.
Okay, Commissioner Weston.
Thank you. Please indulge me for a minute. Why, we're not, the state will mandate things, but it's not completely paid for, correct?
Correct. The state will push out legislative mandates, and that is dependent on, like we've mentioned, this year we have our insurance. They had a legislative mandate to increase the employer portion, and as well as our teacher salaries and our bus driver salary raises.
Okay. So if this is being mandated by the state, have we approached the Richland County delegation to ask them about unpaid mandates that they're issuing?
Our, Dr. Witherspoon, if you want to answer.
We and I appreciate members of this board who maintain open lines of communication with members of the delegation throughout the year, not just at budget time. But and we do have in the fall, and it's varied in years, where we present this same information again to our delegation through the meetings that we have to talk about, the whether in recent history, the change in the funding formula and the impact and how that impacts this district.
Okay. And looking at that, I was just saying that normally the burden would be on the taxpayers. And so with the zero millage that was included, it does not fall on the shoulders of the taxpayers, homeowners, taxpayers. Is that correct?
The increase, is that your question?
Yes.
Yes. So an increase does not impact a legal residence of a homeowner.
Okay.
Owner occupied.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. That's it.
All right, Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a follow-up question. The dollars that we're requesting from the state pretty much covers teachers, bus drivers, non-teachers, our custodians, our cafeteria staff. Those dollars we're anticipating from the county to make sure we can give them at least a 2% increase.
Yes.
So without those dollars that we're asking for our custodians, our cafeteria staff, anyone that's not a teacher, 2% that we're trying to get them would be impacted, correct?
We will have to make some choices.
Okay.
And as we typically do every year, and that's why we don't bring third reading to you all
So they're finished.
until the legislature has done what it needs to do, until the county has done what it needs to do, and then we sharpen the pencil, if you will, accordingly, and bring a third reading to this board.
Okay. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
Any other questions at this time? All right, I do have a few questions and maybe even statements. And I try not to read the paper or the headlines or, watch what is captured in the news so much. But how can somebody or a person come up with the idea that it's a $22 million deficit if the county, as well as the state, has not finalized their budget? It's a very, simple question to me. I don't think you necessarily can. You can project. But even in the projection of $22 million deficit, I think that's not even totally accurate. correct? Because to Commissioner Lomanak's position on the question, he was asking what was the difference, right? And so is it 7 million as a difference in your presentation, or is it $22 million deficit? What is the school district's? What is the school district's position, or what are we saying is what the need is? Is it 22 million deficit, or we just need $7 million to be in our projected budget, a request?
Your difference based off the slide is 7.9 million.
Okay,
The term deficit at this moment, we do not have a deficit as we are still waiting for our revenue to be funded by either the state and the county, whichever one proposed first. But we do know that the term deficit, because we do not have our final revenue, that's a loose term to use in the form of we are in a deficit aspect because we have not received the final numbers for our revenue. Therefore, we're still working that budget process to finalize our numbers.
all right, so if we had the 7.9, I think it is, right?
Yes,
That would give us that operating budget that is proposed.
yes.
Okay, now, if not, as I hear, I think it was Commissioner Weston, we're talking about those unfunded mandates, those opportunities like summer SOAR, things like the mandated insurance costs having an increase of 11.8%. Also, I believe, as Commissioner Harris said, trying to offer a competitive salary would bring us into what Dr. Witherspoon stated, a choice. That, you know, when we go to the grocery store, we do know we only have a set amount of money to spend, but then when you start getting to the cashier, you start looking at the numbers ring up, you start putting some things back. And so what I want to make very clear to the public is that things like the Summer SOAR program is something that we have to consider as a choice, not necessarily a mandate, a choice. When we look at some of the salary increases that we want to do for our employees, that will become the crunch that we may feel at the cashier because we are looking at something that we are looking as a difference, not a deficit, a difference, not a deficit of about 7.9 million. And so I just want to make sure that is totally explained. Now, one other thing that I want to talk about is, again, make clear about the SRO budget, because when y'all went through that, it got a little confusing. Now, what is the impact on SROs if we don't have the 7.9?
So the SRO's budget is currently in line with us with a request to the county. So as of now, we do not know the impact. However, they have issued their proposed expenses to us for next fiscal year. Now, to say that they will continue to be at a stable, no increase, we will not know until the county finalize their budget if they're going to increase on the back end of 9. And during the school year, we did add some SROs based on the needs of our school, and that did increase our contract as well. So if this contract is passed and there are needs, then of course we may come back during the school year and say we may need some additional SROs in places, which will increase our contract that we have with the county for our SROs.
Okay. Any other question or discussion? Commissioner Lomanak?
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. On this general fund budget overview at the top line where it says teacher increase with step included using average of 9%, cost includes savings from vacancies. What is the total cost savings from vacancies?
I'll have to pull that information for you to get that direct number.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Commissioner Weston.
How many officers are there, the SROs in the schools?
I'm gonna refer to Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Chairman, Dr. Bishop. Yes. Good evening, Dr. Witherspoon, Board of Commissioners. Ma'am, if you could repeat your question, please.
I wanted to know how many officers, SROs, do we have in the schools?
Okay, we have a total, as you know, ma'am, we have a total of 50 SRO officers.
50. So in the high schools, how many are at Dreer? Do you have, I mean,
As approved by this board, as you know in our communication, we have one. We are, depending on the continued discussion, that number could change.
okay, you have one.
Yes,
And at Eau Claire,
one,
okay. And Lower Richland,
two.
okay, 2. So those, in our high schools, we have a total of how many? Because we do have them at elementary and middle as well, correct?
Yes, that's correct, ma'am. So in our high schools, we have a total of 1 SRO, but there are some schools that have 2 SROs
Right.
placed within them.
Which schools have 2?
Those schools are, as public record, Keenan High Schools, Lower Richland High School.
I would say AC Flora may have 2.
AC Flora has 2.
Let us get you a
Okay.
list.
Okay, thank you, I'd appreciate
Add
it.
that to the information request list, so
Okay.
Mr. Brown doesn't have to,
Okay.
I think there's.
And how do you define need?
I'm sorry, ma'am. Could you go a little deeper into what you're asking me, ma'am?
How do you know you need 1, 2, 3? How do you define what you need in each?
In each school,
Yes.
for security, we're constantly evaluating that, and we have those discussions. And out of those discussions, a strategy comes together, security strategy.
Okay,
And we work with law enforcement on that
okay.
as well.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions, discussion? Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This question is for Ms. Bing. The Richland One is requesting a meal cap. When is the last time we've had a meal cap in Richland One?
We have not received a meal cap since 2020, which is about 4 years.
So we went through COVID with no increase,
Correct.
but we had ESSER dollars.
Correct.
But ESSER dollars are gone and we're still feeling the impact of COVID, correct?
Correct. As the dollars expire September 30th.
Okay, so here's my next statement or question. We've got 4 years that we could have requested money,
That is
the
correct.
cap, but we didn't. Right now, Dr. Witherspoon, you're saying to this board that we need a meal cap to get through the next year because, of course, we've got unfunded mandates, et cetera. With the meal cap, that's about, well, with the meal cap and with the look back, because look back dollars are dollars we can request after we get the meal cap correct based on the amount of taxes that have been collected. Is that correct? So we're sitting somewhere about $22 million in dollars that if we got the cap, we could ask the county to do a look back and give us dollars that we were entitled to, but we didn't ask for them based on Act 388. The way Act 388 is set up, there are dollars we could have asked for, but we didn't ask for them.
That's correct.
We did what we needed to do to get through. We asked last year for the $6.7 million. We didn't get it. Again, a meal cap that could have been asked for and gotten to help us last year. We didn't receive it. So now we're asking for it to get through this year because we've got a lot of increases. We've already determined that our owner-occupied homes have zero effect or impact with this increase. Some of the businesses will, the price of a burger from McDonald's may be impacted if we get the meal cap. And this would allow us to move our pay for our teachers up to $50,000, $100, that we remain competitive, to retain not just the teachers that we have, but also to be appealing enough that others want to come. Because, Dr. Witherspoon, you correct me if I'm wrong, one of the ways that an individual can get out of a contract is if they're offered more money. Is that correct?
No, we look at it if there's a promotion,
Okay.
promotional opportunity. We also look at if there's documented
Hardship.
hardship.
Okay.
We look at that as well.
Okay, so we're not in a threat of losing teachers that have signed because another district is able to provide an increase over and beyond what Richland One is providing.
We may not release just for that solely.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Bing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, no other question or discussion? Ms. Bing, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right. We'll now go to item 7.01, which is public participation. Please allow me to read this statement. We're now at the public participation portion of our meeting where an individual can speak on an agenda or non-agenda item. Speakers may offer objective comments on school operations and programs that concern them. You are allowed 3 minutes to speak, and at the last 30 seconds of your time, our parliamentarian, Commissioner Jamie Devine, will cue you to start wrapping up your comments. The board will not respond to you tonight, but we will respond to you in writing within 10 business days. First, we have Ida Thompson.
Chairman Bishop, Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ida Thompson. I'm president of the Richland County Education Association, retired, and a very concerned citizen. I spent today at the South Carolina State House press conference and the meeting of the State Board of Education to lend my voice and the support of our CEAR members to those in this state who are outraged with the June 4th decision of the state superintendent to eliminate AP Honors African American history courses. How ironic that on today, Election Day, a privilege we fought to have, in the month that we celebrate Juneteenth, the ending of slavery in this country, that we find it necessary to even have this matter to deal with. This decision continues the efforts of this education department to limit, minimize, and devalue the true history of African Americans and their accomplishments and contributions to this society. First, it was books that captured the African American experience. Now it's the AP history course. What will be next? The students who spoke today were not all African Americans, not all female, not all male, and not all from the same parts of the state. But they were all passionate about their desire to have access to this course, which they are choosing to take to learn and broaden their knowledge and understanding. From the listings of AP courses on the Richland One website, I see that African American history is an elective course for students in grades 10 through 12. I was not able to determine if Richland One participated in the piloting of the AP African American history course, but I have heard from both students and teachers that it was such a significant learning experience for them. I would think that there are students who have already selected this course, parents who are looking forward to this valuable learning experience for their children, and administrators who have already made staffing and scheduling decisions around this course. If European history, world history, and U.S. history can be taught for AP credit, how in the world can you not offer and grant AP status to offer African American history, which is at the root of all of these? My expectation is that you will stand for and uphold our students' right to learn and have a comprehensive education. They deserve it. It is their right and your responsibility to ensure that it is available. Thank you, because I know you will do whatever is necessary to ensure that this course is in place and an option for our students so that they can indeed engage, educate, and be empowered through the truth of history, its meaning and implications. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Robin Smith. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I didn't mean that. I was looking your way. Scott Barber. No, it's not a joke. It's a mistake. We all have these mistakes, all things in life. Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, we've been 9 months, finished the year. Congratulations to the students and the graduates of class of 2024. They made it through it. As I've been to this board meeting since last year, pretty much the whole school year, transparency and accountability, right, is what I've been on. I think I'm gonna switch up a little bit. We'll talk about budget stuff. As a taxpayer of Richland County, I have serious concerns about the management of funds in this district, right? I heard the reference a needs-based budget. If I sit in the audience and listen, I think everything is a need in this county, right? Or that's the perception of the way things are in the board meeting. And I'll reference the 85,000 emergency response trailer that probably didn't need to be purchased. As well as other things, P-card things. So we've had a problem with P-card transactions. We referenced declining enrollment in the district. I think the district referenced 22,000 students. The most recent reference of ADM is 20,700, which is going to reduce your numbers. If the highest percentage of cost of this district is people and benefits, perhaps we need to be looking at where we are overstaffed in places. If the students aren't here and you don't have teachers here, why do we need so many administrators in certain positions? Or why do we have so many buildings that are limiting number of kids? The minute you put a kid in there, you have to put an SRO officer in there, right? The minute you put in there, you need a principal in there. You need an assistant principal. So there are serious concerns about how you're justifying this money that we spend. The ESSER dollars that you got should have probably been seen as a gift over COVID years, and we probably shouldn't have planned on having that forever in eternity, right? So the forethought to look at what programs you have and what you're funding, I have concerns with. And I don't there's just a number of things that and the accuracy of things. So because it's financial related, I was going through some of the check registers, and can somebody please tell me when March 34th is?
30 seconds.
In the March 2023 check register on the district, there is a transaction dated March 34th, 2023. I'm going to assume this district has an enterprise level tracking system for finances. You can't tell me that that came out of that system. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
All right. We're now going to item 8, which is the consent agenda. If there's no objection, we will read all items in, and if there's any question about any particular one of those items, please feel free to ask questions. We'll read the consent agenda item in. 8.01, minutes, May 28th, 2024. 8.02, contract extension, perishable and non-perishable food items, general groceries. 8.03, general extension, perishable milk products, presented by Ms. Outing. 8.04, contract extension, purchase of fresh produce. 8.05, contract extension, school resource officers, SRO, Richland County Sheriff Department. 8.06, contract extension, City of Columbia School Resource Officers, SRO. And 8.07, contract extension, student athletic sports accident/injury insurance. What's the pleasure of the board at this time?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion about any one of these items? I see Commissioner Lomanek, and then I think Commissioner Weston.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. I just have a couple questions about 8.05 and 8.06.
Okay.
That's okay. Mainly 8.06, the City of Columbia SROs, y'all do provide reason for the increase. It went up almost $300,000 from last year, at least the projected budget for the next year. And we're adding, if we approve this, we're adding 2. How much do those 2 additions add up to out of that $300,000 increase?
Do you have that dollar amount handy, or is that something we need to follow up on? Well, that's fine. I mean, that's a valid question. Right. I agree. But if you have it right now, we can, provide it.
Commissioner Loman, please repeat your question.
So it looks like we're projecting a $300,000 increase for SROs from CPD, not from the county. And it says the increase is because of cost of salaries, fringe benefits, but also the 2 additional. And I'm just trying to figure out how much of that 300,000 is the 2 additional versus how much is the increase in salaries and benefits.
So we have that breakdown. That's about run roughly about over 100,000 per officer. When you add in the salary, fringe benefits, and as well as the unit, the vehicle, and all the equipment that they need. Well, we can get those exact numbers to you, but to give you an idea, roughly, it's about usually around about $125,000-130,000. So I can get those exact numbers to you.
Okay, and then just based on what we're looking at from the county, are we trying to have the same number of county SROs that we had this past year?
So there are some discussions right now to have the same number of county officers that we have. There are some discussions in terms of some other ideas that we may can tap into grants and whatnot to aid us in some locations.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Chairman Bishop.
All right, Commissioner Weston.
Thank you. On 808.05, is there a slight decrease in that amount?
That is for the, I think the Sheriff's Department, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. You will see a slight decrease in that, yes.
Okay, but then in 8.06, and that's why I'm interested in how many officers, why do we need an increase in this particular area?
Well, with the 8.06 is the city. And so the city looking to, as they did their assessment, realized that there will be some cost increase. And of course, that cost is passed on to us in our MOU contract. And if you add the additional SRO officers, the 2 additional ones, that will that we're requesting for Eau Claire and Dreher, then you see that increase in the amount.
So even though Eau Claire's enrollment is lower, we're asking for an additional
Yes, ma'am.
SRO?
Based upon, as we said earlier, as we come together and have meetings with our law enforcement, we feel that to continue to create that safe and secure environment for our students, our staff, and all those that visit our campuses, this is a need, ma'am.
Okay. I won't ask that question because I'm still trying to see how the need.
For safety, ma'am.
Safety?
Yes.
With less students.
For our students, protect our students.
Okay. And then in 8.07, is that an increase or a decrease?
That's athletics, ma'am.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Dr. Witherspoon, did you have something to add?
I think, and Ms. Matthews, help me out. Hold on, Ms. Matthews, I'm going to stay on the SRO. I think last fiscal year, it was an increase with the county SROs that we maintain or attempting to maintain through this year's budget. This year, there's an increase from the city in addition to those 2 officers. So fast forward a year from now, hopefully those numbers are the same from that request. But this is reviewed and we get an MOU and so forth from both
County and-
entities annually. And just to piggyback on what Mr. Brown was saying, and I think I mentioned earlier, there are reviews and assessments that are done. That's how we got to, our two largest high schools, if you will, needing more than just one. And just like, and we got to that standpoint from, again, an assessment, talking with staff, talking with law enforcement, looking at incidents and those types of things. That's how we get to some of those decisions, if you will,
Okay.
and
So-
recommendations.
All right, so that will be an increase in 8.06.
Any other questions? One question, and my memory may be failing me here, but did it become a law to pay Richland County Sheriff Department a certain salary or a dollar amount per hour within the last year or so? Like they were supposed to get paid.
I don't know that it was a law in terms of what their salary would be, but there is a mandate to have an SO in every school, which Richland County School District 1 has been on the forefront of that. And so I cannot answer that in terms of the salary piece.
I can't remember if that was the case, but I'll look it up. I'll Google it. But the decrease is about $2,000 from last year to this year.
Richland County?
Yeah.
I think so about that.
Okay, that's what I'm reading. All right. Any other questions, Dr. Witherspoon?
Yeah, I think Coach Matt's getting to the question about health insurance. I mean, athletes. That's the same. Was that what you said, Coach Matt? I think that was a question, Mr. Chair.
You had a question?
I was asking, was that an increase or a decrease? And he said it's remaining stable, same.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions about these items? Seeing none, hearing none, we have exhausted the question and discussion part. Now we call for the question. Gonna do it manually? Yes. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
All right, there's a 6-1 vote. The ayes have it. The motion passed. All right, we're now at item 9, Office of Finance. Again, if there's no objection, I would like to read items 9.1, 9.02, 9.03, 9.04, and 9.05 in together, and we'll be to ask any question about those items. Is that an objection?
I think it would be worthwhile to pull separately 9.08.
I didn't go that far yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then I wasn't paying attention. Thank you.
It's all right. It's all right. We all make mistakes, Robert. 9.01, contract, provide certified athletic trainers. 9.02, contract, lease contract of high-speed printers and copiers. 9.3, contract, provide professional services for information technology department. 9.04, contract, purchase of ultra-low sulfur ULSD diesel and BS biodiesel fuel. 9.05, contract, after-school child care providers. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Harris to do items 9.01, 9.05, and second by Commissioner Devine to do the same, all items between 9.01 to 9.05. All those question or discussion? Robert Lomanak, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. I've just got a question about 9.03, the IT services.
Okay.
And the question is just, do we have an estimate of how much that might cost? And would it ever be cost effective to actually hire folks to have in-house? Or is there just not enough consistent projects that this would cover?
So we don't have an estimate cost right now that we can give you. The jobs vary from time to time, such as hiring a group of people to get all of our laptops to dispose. There are some times when we might have a particular project that would come. This is a huge project where we would hire somebody for assistance in doing a specific skill set that we may have an opening that we just can't hire someone full time. So at this time, it would just be additional work as needed.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Bishop.
Any other questions? Commissioner Weston.
How much money has been spent on outside tech people?
So we would have to get you a breakdown because the work that each of these vendors do is very specific. So we would have to get you, if you want last year, we would have to get you each of those vendors and then the specific work that they've done because it has been very different.
Okay, so we are spending money on outside people that the inside people cannot do?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. Needed that clarification.
Oh,
Thank
yes,
you.
ma'am.
All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. Yes, ma'am, Commissioner.
Okay, you answered part of that on 905, so I've got it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, we'll now call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0 vote. We'll now go to item 9.06, request for reallocations, fund balance vacancies. Presented by Ms. Bean.
Good evening, Chairman Bishop, Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon. The administration requests approval for reallocation of a portion of the fiscal year 23-24 general fund vacancies totaling $1.8 million across the budgets for the following departments. This adjustment is necessary due to unforeseen increases in contracted services to cover the vacancies. The departments are special services with $1.2 million and nursing services for $600,000. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion? Okay, Commissioner Weston?
Yes. When you said that it's what's the total number for vacancies that we have?
In those department areas?
Yes.
I'll have to work with HR to get that information for you.
Okay. And you said special services?
Yes.
And so you are getting people in those vacancies for special services?
In the positions such as our site services, our sign language interpreters, our audiologists, and our language pathologists that we have vacancies for but have not been able to fill.
Okay, so we're counting those in even though we don't have those services, those people already. That is correct? No. You're counting those vacancies?
We've already served.
We've had the vacancies,
For
Commissioner Weston, but this is to, the services need to still be provided. So, and we've utilized contracted services just as, we talked about with IT augmentation when things are needed. So, where we've had vacancies in certain departments, but the work still needs to be done through contracted services, this is to fill that gap using the funds from those vacancies.
Okay. And you said to hire nurses. Aren't nurses already in the budget?
Nurses are in the budget. However, like Dr. Witherspoon has said, we have had a need for our nurses. However, we have carried some vacancies in our nurses of not being able to fill those current vacancies. So we work with outside services such as Maxim that provides us nurses to fill in the gaps for our schools.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for a point of clarification, these vacancies that we have, because we have the vacancies, we have to go to outside sources, correct?
That is correct.
And that is what these dollars are covering, correct?
That is correct.
The dollars are not covering the vacancy. They're covering the contracted service companies that we're using.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, because one of my colleagues looked at me kind of strange just now, so I just want to make sure we clarified that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions about the items? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, we'll now cast our vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. 7-0 vote. We're at item 9.07, request for reallocation of fund balance, presented by Ms. Bean.
The administration requests approval of a reallocation of the portion of a fiscal year 22-23 general fund unassigned fund balance for department budget increase for $2.5 million due to higher than anticipated costs. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion? Seeing none, okay, Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. There's no listing of what budget, what departments, and what services this would cover. At least I, for one, would like to see that before voting on it. Does the administration have that?
We submitted that in our board update.
I think that was sent to the board last Friday.
Okay, so it's just not part of the agenda, the public item?
Right, we sent that because it was, I think it was asked in committee.
Yes.
And we sent it Friday in the update.
And so what was emailed to us, that hasn't changed from the committee meeting to now?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think so.
Okay, seeing no other question or discussion, we'll now call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
That's,
2.
okay, that's 2. That is 5 yeas, 2 nays. The motion passed, 5-2. All right, we're now at 9.08, second reading of the FY 2024-2025 general fund budget. Ms. Bean.
During the board meeting held on May 28th, the proposed fiscal year 24-25 general fund budget was reviewed and items included in the fiscal year 25 budget were discussed. Items included in the second reading budget are as follows. State mandated teacher salary schedule minimum increase to $47,000. In order to maintain competitiveness within the teacher market, an average adjustment of 9% will be implemented to the teacher salary schedule, resulting in a new minimum salary of $50,100. 2.75% increase was mandated for bus drivers as per the state bus driver salary schedule. Employer benefits for health insurance increased by 11.8%. Non-teacher salary table increase of 2%. Programs previously funded by ESSER funds, including credit remediation, Summer SOAR, Summer Learning Academy, amounting to a total of $6.7 million. Attached, there is a detailed line items included for second reading of the budget. The district is still waiting on final state revenue information for fiscal year 24-25. The state and House budget projections are different. However, we are using the Senate projections for first and second reading, which is currently lower than the House projections. With the passing of Act 388 in June 2006, the district is capped at an increase equal to the CPI of 4.12% plus population growth of 0.86% on operating millage totaling 4.98%. The estimate for the mill cap is $276,952,216. This is an increase of $22 million over the fiscal year 23-24 revenue. The request to the county was for the mill cap. There are no changes between first and second reading. The attached schedules are based on a needs-based budget. Once we have finalized numbers from the county and state, we can make final adjustments to the budget. The administration recommends second reading approval of the fiscal year 24-25 general fund budget for $415,739,004. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion? Commissioner Weston, Commissioner Lomanak.
Yes. Are we then asking the taxpayers to take on that burden of that additional money?
When you reference the burden of additional money, can you clarify which portion?
You're giving an additional $7 million. You're asking the taxpayer to pay that?
The 7.9 million?
Yes.
That will impact the commercial and rental property owners
Okay, and not the homeowners.
and not the homeowners.
Okay. And the mandates that the state do, again, like Commissioner Bishop said, when you go to the grocery store and you pick up those items, but then you have to go to the drugstore and pick up those items. So it's whether you eat or you take your medication. So we can't put all that stress on, again, the taxpayers, because there are families that are just trying to struggle to get by. And so, again, talking to our Richland delegation to talk about these mandates that they're putting forth, that they actually put money where their mouths are. It's just my statement.
All right.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. I actually move that we immediately reallocate $7.9 million from the Early Learning Childhood Center Fund to our budget so that we can cover the teacher salaries and everything in this budget, and then go back to County Council if the administration wants to ask County Council to fund that $8 million to put back in the Early Learning Center.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Robert Lomanak to the said motion, which I think will be on public record. And if I'm calling it right, you asked for how much to be moved?
Reallocate $7.9 million.
Reallocate $7.9 million from the Vince Ford Learning Center project.
That's right.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Weston, the same. All right, question or discussion? Commissioner Myers, thank you.
Quick question. I guess this to be to another commissioner. My concern is if we are short this year with the 2.7 and we do move the fund from the Early Learning Center, what is the outcome for next year when we are short again with the 7.2 or 7.9 next year? What is the outcome for next year? And that was for Mr. Lomanak, Commissioner Weston. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers. Well, we could also reallocate all $31 million, which would cover the next 4 to 5 years if we have the state, the unfunded mandates from the state. We have unfunded mandates from the state almost every year. And so I think we can plan for those better. I do think we also need to have a board discussion about our debt services and the amount of funds that we're spending on fees and interest, and to see if we could slowly, it will take time to slowly back that up. But we're having to make tough choices. And, you know, people made the analogy about going to the grocery store, and we've been talking about paying our teachers. We could tonight make sure that our budget as proposed for this year is done and funded. And then the administration can go make its case to County Council for the additional $7.9 million if they want to go back towards the Early Learning Center. But I think when we've got to prioritize in 2 months, we're going to have teachers showing up and students showing up and staff showing up. And we've got these salaries and these raises we want to pay. And I don't understand how we can prioritize anything over that right now, since that's so close in time to where we are. Thank you, Chairman Bishop.
Thank you for that, Mr. Lomanak. That's a great response. But for sitting on this board about to be 4 years, every year we in this situation. We come from the short end of the stick from the state and the county. So we are prepared for this. We've been at the short end of the stick for a very long time, for the past 2 months.
All right, Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Witherspoon, the $31 million that have been allocated to the Vince Ford Center, is that one-time money?
One-time funds.
Okay, and it's capital funds?
Yes.
Is it in the general fund budget? It's capital fund project dollars, correct?
It's one time, and generally what you do with one time, you can look at capital projects, and again, things that you spend money on a single time, because it is not reoccurring funds.
Correct. And this board has already, this duly elected board has already voted to spend $31 million in an early learning center, correct?
Correct.
That's already in progress, correct?
Correct.
We're at a pause,
Yes,
but not stopped.
correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Weston.
What about the money that they found and that the state still has, and they're wondering what to do with it? We can suggest that they go ahead and fund some of these programs when they found that money and they're trying to figure out exactly what to do with it. And then again, we would not burden the taxpayers because the money is already there and they're trying to figure out what to do with it.
You talking about that? I'm sorry. Did you finish your statement? Are you talking about the, what is it, 1.8 million that the state
Yes.
found?
Yes, billion.
Did I say billion, right?
You said
Billion,
Okay, I'm sorry. Billion with a B.
yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Great.
All right. Any other question or discussion? Okay, Commissioner Harris.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to add, even working as a Region 8 Director for Richland 1 and Richland 2, our issue is not the Richland County delegation. They are a part of a much bigger group of people called the General Assembly. I don't see where any of our delegates have been against a lot of the things that my colleagues are asking. They agree on a lot of things when it comes to fully funding education, et cetera. But we've got to remember that there are several other counties that have their own ambitions and goals and et cetera. And the Richland County delegation is a small part of a much bigger picture. So it's not about, what our delegation is not doing. They don't control everything. They have a one vote, just like this governing body has. And after that vote is over, whatever the majority has decided on, that is it. So we are just reaping the benefits of those votes. So I just wanted to share that because I have talked to members of our delegation, not just for Richland 1's budget, but also Richland's 2, and they're in support of our ask because they see the challenges and the struggles that we're facing. But it's not them, okay? It's other members of the General Assembly in other counties that, they have their goals and their ambitions and they vote for them and they advocate for them at that state level. So I just wanted to provide that information. Thank you.
Well said. Very clear. All right, no other question or discussion there. Okay, Commissioner Weston.
Clarification, please. When we move that money from general funds to the funds for the $31 million, it came from general funds to become capital funds.
That is correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
Fund balance, I should say, it as we closed out a prior fiscal years.
All right, no other question or discussion. I want to be very clear about what your vote is. Commissioner Lomanak is giving a motion for us to reallocate $7.9 million from the Vince Ford Learning Center to the general fund.
That's right.
All right, it was seconded by Commissioner Weston. If you support that, that happens. If you don't vote for that, it doesn't happen. Okay, everybody clear?
Clear.
All right, let us call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. All right, there's a division in the room, let us be clear. It's 2 votes to support the motion by Robert Lomanak, second by Barbara Weston. It's 5 votes to not support it. 5 votes of nay prevail. All right? Motion does not pass. We're back to item 9.07. Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. Just some general question. I know that we get reimbursed for a lot of the, well, I shouldn't say a lot, for some of the services we provide. What are the federal or state agencies that we get reimbursed for, especially I think around special ed services, but what are the agencies that we get reimbursed by?
Can I refer to Ms. Matthews Hazel?
Sure. Like Medicaid, for example. Don't we get reimbursed
Medicaid.
for Medicaid?
We do get reimbursed for Medicaid services that are provided for our students, but that's a much smaller stream of revenue.
Like, how much is that in a given year?
I would have to pull that amount for you. I won't be able to tell you at the top of my head, but it's a much smaller amount that we receive based on the services that we provide to our students.
Is it thousands or hundreds of thousands?
I would say it's in the couple of 100,000.
And obviously, we've got to do things to get reimbursed, I assume. Is that right?
That is correct.
And have there been any issues this year in not doing what we need to do to get reimbursed through Medicaid?
I will not be able to answer that question for you. That is something, I don't work real closely with the services side, but that is a question we can answer for you at a later time.
Is there anyone tonight that could answer that?
Dr. Witherspoon will have to answer. If there's anybody here tonight, Dr. Witherspoon, that can answer that question. On the
I don't
services side.
see anyone in here this evening, but that is something we can follow up on.
I think it would be great for the board to get information about the different agencies that we get reimbursed from and whether we have done what we need to do to make sure that we get all of that money, because obviously we're providing the services. If we're not getting reimbursed for money that we're due, it's setting that money on fire in essence. So I think that would be helpful.
Keep in mind, Medicaid is a federal program, a grant. We do receive reimbursement from a lot of other grants, millions of dollars we receive reimbursement for, like Title I, millions of dollars. So we can give you a whole list of them.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Give me a second right here. I'm trying to get back to my.
What's on the screen? What you need?
Yeah, I'm back to the original motion, but I just want to pull my. Here we go. Yeah, we had 9.07. Just getting back into board docs.
08.
9.08.
9.08. Just right there on the screen.
Okay, I'm coming.
That's all right.
All right, everyone. There is a motion. Yes.
I think an original motion was made for the reading.
Yes.
It was. Yes, it was.
9.
She made a recommendation.
We was at 9.07.
9.08.
Second reading, yes, 9.08. That's right, second reading. And it was her recommendation, right?
Right.
Correct, and that's what we're voting on now.
No. I see what she's saying. Mr. Lomanak immediately raised his hand to do this motion. So the recommendation was never recommended.
Okay.
So we need to make a motion now, Mr. Chairman.
It was a motion.
It is.
Chairman Bishop.
Who made
One
the motion and who seconded it?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you.
I said what's the recommendation of administration. We did it, and then Robert, you asked for a substitution.
I think you're right. I intended to wait until there was discussion before I
Yeah.
made the motion, so I thought somebody had moved and seconded. I just couldn't remember
Okay.
No, we're very clear that she did do a recommendation of administration. It was
Okay. Just want to double check.
record shows. Thank you. All right, it's okay. We're gonna get through this. We'll now call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
I hear division in the room. There's 2 nays, 5 yeas. 5 yeas prevail. Motion passed. Now, we have the Office of Human Resources. Item 10.01, HR personnel update. Dr. Kumas.
Good evening, Board Chair, Dr. Bishop, members of the School Board of Commissioners, and Dr. Witherspoon. HR updates were provided in the executive session as information. If you have any questions, I will answer them at this time.
Any question or discussion at this time? Seeing none, hearing none. We'll now go to item 10.02, hiring of personnel.
Yes, sir, if it pleases the board. The administration recommends hiring all 14 teachers on the attached list for the 24-25 school year. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Clyburn. Question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll now cast our vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Let the record show that Commissioner Lomanak is not here for the vote, so the motion passes 6-1. No, excuse me, 5-1. All right? We're now at item
Hold on.
6-0.
6-0.
6-0? I thought I heard it. Yeah, okay, 6-0.
Yes.
Yes.
She said yes.
You said yes?
Yes.
I thought I heard nay, my bad. Okay.
It's getting late, sir.
It is.
Y'all come on, let's
A
go.
long day. We're going to get through this. 6-0 vote. Let the record show. All right? Item 11, Office of the Superintendent, 11.01, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Witherspoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is our first board meeting since we held our high school graduation ceremonies. Congratulations again to all of our class of 2024 graduates and their proud families. The class of 2024 collectively earned over $69 million in scholarships, and we wish our graduates well in their next phase of their journey and as they move forward in life. Congratulations to Hopkins Elementary School on being named a Visible Learning Certified School, becoming the first Richland 1 school and the first school in South Carolina to earn that distinction. Visible Learning, a partnership between the Corn Book Publishing and the Australian professor John Hattie, who's a guru in education circles, is a professional learning program that explores what methods work best to improve student achievement. The goal of this program is to help students take responsibility for their learning and give teachers clarity about what they are teaching. Visible Learning Plus Schools Awards recognizes the progress and achievements of schools in making and implementing the program and embedding its methods in all levels. Being named a Visible Learning Certified School is the highest of 3 awards a school can obtain. Hopkins Elementary will be recognized during the annual Visible Learning Conference in San Diego, California in July. Congratulations to Principal Audrey White Gardner and to her staff and students. And I will say that Principal Gardner and her staff has presented here locally and in other districts across the state and some outside of our state borders have been to hear and even visit. And again, congratulations. And just to add to that, we've been working with Visible Learning certainly as a district and proud to have a school to be that beacon. So we do have some in-house examples of how visible learning can work and also move student achievement, student performance. The 2023-2024 school year is over, but learning doesn't stop during the summer in Richland 1. Our summer SOAR programs and camps began June 3rd, and they will continue through July 11th. There are many opportunities still available for students at all grade levels to participate in summer SOAR. Parents can go to www.richland1.org/SOAR or call our summer SOAR hotline at 803-400-1692 for more information. Our student nutrition team is busy serving free summer meals to children 18 and under through our seamless summer option. Children can eat breakfast and lunch Monday through Thursday at one of 29 school sites throughout the district through July 18th. There are also options available for parents to pick up 5 days worth or 10 days worth of meals for their children on designated dates at 2 sites. For more information, go to our website, richland1.org, or call Nutrition Services at 803-231-6953. As a reminder, our summer career fair for all positions, certified and classified, will be held this Thursday, June 13th, 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. in the C.A. Johnson High School Gymnasium. Persons interested in attending are asked to register, and participants should possess or be eligible for our South Carolina teaching certificate. For more information and to register, go to richland1.org/careers. Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Witherspoon, for your report. This is the superintendent's report. Any question or discussion regarding the superintendent's report at this time? Okay, Commissioner Weston.
I have a question based on information I'd asked prior to. I asked how much money did we not recoup from the gala. I haven't gotten that information yet. Yes, sir.
Dr. Witherspoon.
Yeah, as previously stated, we do have a listing, and there will be some information that will be forthcoming to the board in a Friday update.
Okay. Would you provide how much money are we not recouping to any other things that we are putting money out for example, not only the gala, but for Medicaid this year and anything else that we may go lacking in? And just give us a list of those.
Is that similar to the same request that Commissioner Lomanak just talked about?
I think he asked about that one, but I'm saying any other losses that we have.
That's what he said too.
Okay, I think it's, okay, all right.
He said it, yeah.
You got that
So
other
that
one?
we can be good stewards.
Yes,
Can you differentiate from what you requested?
And I think we captured both. But that one too, if we go and say, okay, what didn't you do? What didn't you do? What didn't you do? Or what have you, if that's where I think you're going, and asking, we're gonna have to process that and see how that gets gathered and all of that.
And provide it to us. Okay.
Okay, all right.
Okay. If that's,
I'm just
if
asking
that's
how
what
much.
I understand
Right.
your request to be.
Just how much we are not recouping from endeavors. We're going in the hole.
All right.
Well, I wouldn't, again, I would not categorize that as we're going in the hole versus, systems, processes, or what have you. I'm just.
I'm just asking what loss did we incur?
Why would there be a loss?
So,
We will work on that, Commissioner West.
okay, work on it. I'm just wanting to make sure that whatever we have put into it, we make sure that we get the best bang for our bucks.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Commissioner Devine.
Mr. Chairman, as stated at the last board meeting, and I'll say this again to my colleagues with all due respect, we make these requests on second and fourth Tuesday nights. We meet first and third Mondays, Wednesdays, Tuesdays, Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. We can email the superintendent. We can call the superintendent. We can get those items. There is also a green or yellow sheet that we put items on for the superintendent, and he gives that to us. And right now we're in transition with
That will start
some
back
staff.
on Friday.
That start back on Friday. So I would ask, because my other question is, what is the information used for? Is it for a decision? Is it just to look at things? What we don't need to do is weaponize these reports to give out so that then focus would use those negatively against this organization. I've been here quite some time. I don't think I've seen it this bad, where there's persons that are internal threats as well as there's some external threats to the organization. And every organization has issues and problems. We don't run from those. But we got to continue to work together to uplift the organization, to ensure that the organization continues to run and function. If there are some things that we need to work on, call the superintendent, other than second and fourth Tuesdays, other than when the camera's rolling, and have a conversation with him. He's our one employee. He is the one, he's our CEO. He runs the organization. If any of you serve in any other boards, commissions, organizations, that's what you do. You don't wait till a board meeting to call the CEO and try to, I got you. It's, I see you. How do we make this thing work better? And that's for everybody. Again, I've served on the state board. I've served on the national board. I served here locally. Again, I'm not seeing it this bad where folk just want to tear down this organization. We got to continue to work together, continue to move the district forward. There are young people watching us, and I don't want this to be my legacy. I want my legacy to be that we did all these things. We did the best we could. We invested in our children. We invested in our staff. We made sure that we did all we could do for our young people. And I know there are some people who don't want this early learning center built. That's been said. Now we got to come together as a group, as a board, to move this district forward. We're the leaders. People are looking at us. We're the leaders. And again, I've been around a long time. I've seen some good things. I've seen some bad things. Some things go awry. But I cannot sit here any longer and allow others to tear down this organization. I'm a part of it. We're all a part of it. I get, again, that there's issues or problems. Have a conversation with the superintendent. Mr. Superintendent, I think I see some things on the horizon. Let me tell you what leadership is about. Leadership is about looking down the road and then seeing what's around the corner. Leadership is about communication. Leadership is about your legacy and what you leave when you leave here. I don't want to be known for that group that just tore down the district and left the district in such a disarray. I want to be known for the group that came together, moved the district forward, invested in its future, because I have 2 children in this district, and I have one that has already graduated and has done well. And all of our kids up here will be fine. But it's those other young people that we got to look out for. And we got folks that are still voting that are not voting for teachers, not voting for the budget because they don't like something. I think that's a tragedy and a travesty. I do board trainings across this state. And I said it at the last meeting, and I'll say it again. School Board 101, don't surprise the superintendent and try not to surprise your colleagues. Let's work together. If something comes up, let's work together to move the organization forward. Again, are we perfect? No. Are we striving for that? Yes. I only know one who was perfect. Mr. Chairman, I had to get that out because I see us going down a road that is not positive and productive for our organization. We have people in this audience looking at us, our community looking at us. We need to uplift, to move forward, have the conversations, which I think is time for another work session, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And let's bring these items to the table and have more in-depth conversation about these things. Again, second and fourth Tuesdays to take care of the business of the organization. Now, if you need some more in-depth information or more additional information, that's why we have work sessions once a quarter. Mr. Chairman, with that, I step back. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Clyburn.
Thank you so much, Chairman Bishop. I echo everything that Commissioner Devine said just now, but I would like to ask a question. I don't know where wins or losses comes in when we're talking about our kids. Investments, and it's been made, that question has come up about investments from Commissioner Devine. These are investments. The Early Childhood Learning Center is a $31 million investment. Yes, that's a lot of money. But when you're talking about, what the return on your investment is going to be, we sat there at graduations a couple of weeks ago. We saw walking across the stage our return on investments. And we see on a daily basis what our return on investments can be and what they are. I don't know a monetary value that can be placed on whether something is valuable or not, or whether it made a difference. That's not what we're here for. So some people may see these dollars as a waste, or being wasteful, or not being good stewards of resources. But I don't agree with those kinds of analogies. And I think we need to, in the words of Commissioner Devine, move our district forward, continue to move our district forward, and stop wasting time, on such things. Thank you, Chairman Bishop.
All right. Any other comments? Okay, Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. I do want to point out that over the last 2.5 years, I haven't counted, but I've sent hundreds of emails to the superintendent about issues that have been brought to me that I forward or that I raise with him as the superintendent. I realize most of the members of the board don't see those emails because they go to the superintendent. Sometimes, depending on the context, I include the chairwoman or chairman at the time. And I also want to point out that I've tried more than once, but most recently a couple months ago, to get something on a committee agenda item so that we can talk about some long-range issues. And I think my specific request was that the administration committee take on some discussions with the administration about teacher retention efforts and how we can improve those. Surely we can all acknowledge that we've got areas to improve when it comes to teacher retention. And I thought the administration committee would be a good one to have those discussions and then bring something back to the board. That request to just get that on the agenda was rejected. So, it's not that folks aren't trying to talk about substantive issues and bringing them to committee meetings or bringing them to the superintendent. Again, hundreds of emails to the superintendent. And I don't think he would disagree with how many I've sent. So I do think there is a time for us to have discussions in public, and there are certainly things that I've emailed the superintendent or general counsel about that I didn't think needed to be discussed in public for a whole host of reasons. So, I think everybody has to make that judgment call, him or herself. Thank you, Chairman Bishop.
All right. Commissioner
Weston.
Weston,
Okay.
did you have your hand up?
I did.
Commissioner Weston.
Okay. I am all about transparency and accountability. And I ask questions because I need to know the answers to them. I too have sent emails. I've copied you on those asking for information, but I can't seem to get it. And so my thing is, we have to find out, if we're trying to find out about how to save money, get money to pay for the programs that we want, we need to see where the money is going that we could put on those programs so that we could do those things. And so the only way to do that is to bring it out in the open to see where we need to make some changes.
Dr. Witherspoon.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, in response to the comment that was just made, any emails sent by Commissioner Weston, to my knowledge, have been answered.
All right.
I don't have an answer to this.
Okay, y'all, this is the superintendent's report. Maybe during board report, we can address some other things. I will give a statement about some of the things that we need to do as a board. But this is the superintendent's report. And yes, Commissioner Harris.
I just wanted to make one comment about the superintendent's report. First of all, congratulations to Dr. Witherspoon on being named the Superintendent of the Year by the South Carolina Alliance of Black Educators. I think that is a well-deserved recognition for his work. He came in and he's been a game changer in ensuring equity and equalities across this district. He led us into the building of our stadiums. He's also been responsible for introducing us to zero-based budgeting, which has really been a game changer for this district. Dr. Witherspoon, I just wanted to, and I know you didn't share this, but I want to thank you as the superintendent for being there for those families this weekend and the loss of their loved ones. That says a whole lot about your leadership and the support that you gave to both mothers during such a hard time, not just for them, but also for our school systems. And I was listening to some of the comments, and I wanted to just share, you might not have mentioned this, but even at one of those services where one of the neighbors of the Vince Ford Center made his way up to us and is looking forward to the center. And I was glad to hear that feedback. It was unsolicited to say, we're looking, Commissioner Clyburn, you were there as well, when that neighbor said, we're looking forward to this center. We know the center is needed, and we support it 1,000%. So it was good to hear that from neighbors, because sometimes things are misconstrued, and those neighbors in that area, they are in support. Their families in support of that center. And I think it speaks to the presentation, Dr. Witherspoon, that you presented to this board on the Early Learning Center. I believe it was Dr. Wiley, if I'm correct, that talked about the Early Learning Center and how we are only able to meet the needs of half of the children that need the services. Half of the children. And that second half, we're not able because, as she stated in that particular meeting, we don't have any more space. So I just want to thank you, want to congratulate you on your recognition this past weekend, and just encourage you to continue to do right by the children, faculty, staff, community of Richland School District 1. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, any other? Okay, Commissioner Myers.
Very short. I just want to say we have finally came to the end of this school year, going into the summer, and we have some positive things to say about Richland 1. Richland 1 staff, stay positive. Keep pushing forward. As for the board, we got 4 chairs up for re-election come November. Stay positive and keep pushing forward.
All right, no other question or discussion about the superintendent's report? All right, let us go now to the office of the board. Item 12.01, legal advice regarding confidential personnel investigation. At this time, we're going to ask Attorney Boykin. Any, you want to? Just want to make sure before I read the statement you're in position. The board received legal advice regarding the personnel item and the work of the IA, which is the internal auditor. We want to also let everyone know the internal auditor is often called upon to review sensitive matters regarding personnel, financial controls, and sometimes inappropriate use of funds that may result in a referral to law enforcement. The distribution of any report should be reviewed accordingly to determine the impact, if any, it may have on additional procedures. This was legal advice received in executive session with the board. Question or discussion? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on. Item 12.02, board report. This is the item on our agenda when any one of our board members would like to share information about their activities or anything that they have done in the community. There's also a moment where you can share some information from your desk about things that are going on with Richland School District 1. Okay, Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. I did not make it to as many graduation ceremonies as I would have liked. I've made it to 5 of the 8. But I do want to say the folks who put these on, even though I realize it's in the same place and maybe logistically a tiny bit easier than when we were doing them outside, it is still an incredible undertaking. And maybe the 3 that I missed were utter disasters. I don't think so. But out of the 5 that I went to, there was one maybe 30-second delay of a video that nobody but the folks up on the stage would have even known about. It was literally flawless. We would start sometimes 2 minutes early or right on time and just keep the thing going. So thank you to the dozens and dozens of folks who put that on, and the students were amazing this year. They were awesome at every single one of them. So thank you all to putting that on. It's a memory those kids and their families will have forever, and y'all made sure that every single one of those ceremonies went as planned, and I really appreciate it.
All right. Any other board reports at the time? Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll be real brief. On top of attending all of the graduations, I believe I attended all of them but farewell Pendergrass. That was the one that I missed of the 11 graduations that we have. I did want to mention to my colleagues, as your Region 8 director, we are working to put on a Region 8 summit between Richland 1 and Richland 2. So please be checking your emails within the next few days from our secretary with the SCSBA on what days you are available for that summit. Just be looking for that information. So it's going to come out because we're trying to do it early July, where the two boards will be able to come together. And this will be in a dinner and discussion format. So just wanted to share that, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, any other board reports at this time? Commissioner Myers.
There's a job fair on Thursday, June 13th at C.A. Johnson High School at 10 a.m. through 12:30 p.m.
All right. Okay, Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In closing, Ms. Harris, who's our board representative for SCSBA, I believe was there when we did the civility pledge here in South Carolina. South Carolina School Boards Association, along with the Municipal Association, came together to talk about civility. And I want to take a piece of the civility corner, and I think it fits in well tonight where we are as a board. And I quote, "Our words flow from our hearts, which are influenced by how we see and hear. Our words have power to tear down or to build up, to inspire fear or hope, to pull people apart or to bring them together. We should use our words to reflect our shared humanity." It's by Ron Harris, author of What Civility Means and Why It Matters More Than Ever. We need more civility in local government. I can't speak for state, I can't speak for federal. We need to continue to work together. This is a very visible and viable community. There's no other school district in this state like Richland School District 1. We're urban, suburban, and rural. People like to compare us to other surrounding districts or other districts throughout the state. I don't think you'll find one with the poverty rate, not using it as an excuse, just a factor. I don't think you'll find one with the academic excellence in this district, not using it as an excuse, but as a factor. I don't think you would find the various things that we've done in this district. And I can tell you over the time that I've been here, we finished up a $381 million building project in 2010. We then moved on to do one-to-one devices in 2013, 2014. 2015, 2016, we started the building of the stadiums, finished those in 2018, 2019. We built the gym at W.A. Perry Middle School. We built a wing at Carbolion Elementary. We built a wing at Kaufman Road Elementary. So we must be doing something right. It just baffles me and bothers me that now we're at a point where folk just want to stop the progress of this district. We got to look to the future. We got to look to make sure that our young people are ready and prepared. Understand this thing with the state budget or our budget, it's a shared responsibility between the state and local taxpayers. That's the way it's always been. This is nothing new. This is nothing new. So until we change Act 388 as a state, I think we'll be in this general position for years to come as a local school district. So I would encourage us to continue to work together, again, to offer solutions, as we heard tonight. I will continue to ask that we share. If there's something that you don't understand about the budget, I know school finance is a little different than most other finances, but we want to invest, again, in our staff. Majority of our budget, 89% of our budget is personnel. Is that correct, Ms. Matthews Hazel? 89% is personnel. The other 10% is just operating. Lights, water, telephone, gas, curriculum, those things that we need to operate the organization. No one is just putting these things in the budget just as niceties. We said we would do 3 things for our students: offer them options, opportunities, and experiences. And in order to do that, we need the best talent. That's our teachers, that's our staff. And again, we need that investment in our staff and our teachers and our classified personnel to ensure that our young people get the best education they can get here in Richland 1. Let's look at the Hall of Fame. Over the last 20 years, we put in over 100 persons. And that's just a small fraction of what this organization has produced over the many years it's been around. So again, I would encourage us to work together. Let's look towards the future, and let's see what's around the corner. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any other board report? Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. I wanted to just briefly, not that Ms. Thompson needs me seconding the things that she said about the AP African American History curriculum, but she also mentioned the issue about books, and those two things are different but related. And I do want to give folks an idea of what that looks like in an actual school. For example, at an elementary school during Black History Month, when teachers have to literally scramble to buy their own books or find books to photocopy pictures and information about Black folks who have succeeded in whatever area they succeeded in. And there are many, but they're not in our textbooks. And it's heartbreaking to watch these teachers have to scramble to get that information that should have been in the textbooks. I would be proud for my two sons to have had the opportunity to take that AP course in this district. So, again, Ms. Thompson doesn't need me seconding her, but I didn't want that to go unsaid. Thank you, Chairman Bishop.
Any other board reports? Commissioner Devine.
Let me go back, and I thank Mr. Lomanak for bringing it up. I had it on my notes. Dr. Witherspoon, what is the process to add African American history course as a local option for our schools? Because we know that because our state has considered it a controversy, they've taken it off of their list. But what can we do here locally to push that forward for our young people? We do know we have some folk, we pilot, and I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask you,
Sure.
What school did we pilot this in over the last 2 years? And then the second question, how do we then move to get this as a local course on our curriculum?
Sure. As Dr. Hassinger comes up to the microphone, we piloted the AP African American history course at Flora last year. And Dr. Hassinger can speak to a little bit of that. But Ms. Thompson did allude to, we do have a local course. I think part of the concern has been, and not just here in the Midlands, but across the state, is that AP credit of the course. While we can offer it locally and while we can offer it as an honors locally, but it still doesn't carry that weight as well. So if I left anything out or needs to be.
No, you spoke to it very well. AP African American History has made 2 years in a row at AC Flora. We had enough students it would have made next year. Eau Claire High School and Dreer High School have demonstrated interest in adding a course. And yes, a locally board-approved course could be created. That process is pretty well defined here in the district. Unfortunately, it would only count as an elective and not a history credit.
Wow.
And the highest opportunity, as Dr. Witherspoon pointed out accurately, that we could provide would be an honors credit.
Wow.
So that would carry a 5.0 weight as opposed to a 6.0 weight. But there are already a couple of folks, including our AAP coordinator, Dr. Julia Kaiser, who are very interested in developing a course if there isn't a reverse in the opportunity here in the state. We do have a half-credit African-American literature course, but that is a very small course, and it's kind of like an English elective. The AP African-American history course was really a survey study, and it was very, very deep. And it went into all aspects of Black life in this country from inception to modern day. It was a very complex course. So we're sad to see it go. I am personally sad to see it go. And I look forward to potentially working with my colleagues in teaching and learning and using local resources and community members to develop a locally approved course if that's the course we have to take.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so as of right now, the State Department no longer offers, as a matter of fact, it is off of their site. You can no longer pick that course. So typically, I know you may not know the actual process. I tell you what, at some point, Mr. Superintendent, can you provide us let me be clear, I know it, but can you provide a general overview, maybe at the next board meeting, Mr. Chairman, of what the local process is to get a local course added to our curriculum? Let's do that. Thank you.
Any other board reports? All right. Let me just kind of briefly say this. 'Cause I know I'm standing between us and the adjournment.
Amen.
Mr. Devine, you're the longest serving board member on here, and your comments during the superintendent's report was heard. Now that we come to the board report, I put that in focus because as a chairman, I take that responsibility to make sure that this board will operate at that level. So here's my ask of the board. Reach out to me. If you have something that you're concerned about, let's work together to get it addressed so that it's just not addressed here on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays. But also, let's be reminded that there's something called committee meetings that we all need to attend. And we're talking about being very accountable and word transparency. Let's be transparent about our responsibility as board members, that all of us need to be sure to be a part of those meetings in between. I know that we do show accountability by making sure we tell whoever's the chair of those meetings that you cannot attend. But here's another ask, include me. Let me know that if you can't attend so that I can possibly step in on your behalf. You know, I always said that one of the craziest moments of being a part of this board was seeing a bingo card being passed around with all of the phrases that most of us as board members use independent of each other. And the one that was associated with me was teamwork make the dream work. It was on a bingo card. And you know, I get it. We're here, and there are people who want to treat us nasty. You know, we didn't sign up to be treated nasty. We didn't sign up to be berated and treated in such a fashion, because we're doing this for children, we're doing it for our community. So, as a board, man, we all on the same level. We're all getting addressed by different crowds about our responsibility. So it will behoove us to try to be on one accord, be on a united front. Because maybe I can help with the crowd that's addressing you, and maybe you can help with the crowd that's addressing me. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to get the work done. And plus, here's our staff. Jamie said students are watching. Hopefully they're not staying up too late to watch this mess. But it's our staff that sit through this. You know, they got to get up early in the morning where we have an option to do whatever, but they got to show up. So let's try to conduct the business, doing the business, and if we got to have conversation, let's have conversations. When two elephants fight, here's another bingo card moment. Put this on your bingo card if you're listening to the creator. When two elephants fight, it's the grass that withers. But put this also on your mind. Student from Kenyon High School this past week saw this board on United Front attend their classmates' funeral. Students from Kenyon High School saw this board on United Front attend their schoolmates or their teammates' funeral. And the other person who was with us was superintendent. Let's do the work. Let's try to save the children. Let's do what we can to put money in the right place, put resources in our community and our schools. The Julian kill, it hit home. We call him Juju. He was my son's schoolmate. We got a us problem. It's a us problem. And we got to figure out us. When I think about like summer soil program being something that's in a grocery cart, and we got to choose between medicine and meals. I even think about the Vince Ford Learning Center. Being in the cart, you got to choose the difference between medicine and meals. If I'm correct, I believe there's only 3 child care centers in the Lower Richland area. Lower Richland, 3 child care centers. Let's make sure we look at what the works look. Let's look at what the work really looks like. Let's look at what really matters. What impact can we really have? Because when I look at Juju, I look at his mother, great friend of mine, Vanyetta. She's hurting. Community's hurting. The coaches hurting. Teachers hurting. It's a lot of hurt. When does the healing begin? If 2 elephants fight, when we're gonna start doing our job and doing our part to make sure the healing begins. So with a sense of urgency, I'm gonna call these board members. I'm gonna have conversations with them. And I'm gonna try to make sure that when we come to these meetings, we show the accountability of leadership, that we're being civil, that we're being transparent, that we're doing what we have to do. I think that's my job as chairman. But I can't do it without you, board. So I need your cooperation. I need your support. Thank you for what you do, not only here, but also what you do in the community. Let's continue to do the work and make sure that this board leads from the front, not from behind. We're the spearhead. Let's make sure we are out front. I want to share this because speaking of out front, I'm just not a person who talks about it and not be about it. I try to do the work. Juneteenth is right around the corner. And prior to Juneteenth, on this Saturday, I'm going to make my voice be heard on a show that's hosted by Juju's mother. It's called Coffee and Red Bull. Coffee and Red Bull is on 103.1, hosted by Chris Connors as well. And they're not going to play any music. I think they're going to be without commercial interruption. They're going to make sure the community talks. And so you'll be able to call in and have solution-based conversation. But please don't do this. Don't call there and say it's the school's fault. The school is one part of our community, right? Whatever's happening to us, it's a us problem. It takes the village. So as we call together an action for peace. I'm glad to see that leaders like Jamie Devine and Senator Tamika Devine, they were part of a march this past week to make sure we are out here in the community saying enough is enough. So I want to make everyone aware that if you can't call in on this Saturday between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m., I'm opening up my church on June 19th to have those courageous conversations at 6 p.m. It's going to be hosted by an organization called Hey Brave Girl, who's partnering with several community leaders. And she's calling it Courageous Conversations because Joy Frazier said men hurt. Like, men hurt too. But it's not just men are hurt. I think our children are hurt. Because our children need leadership. And so here's another quote, and I'm done. It's better, this is Frederick Douglass, it's better to build up children than to repair broken men. It never said you couldn't do both. It just said there's an urgency to do it now for both. So with that being said, thank you for hearing me. And happy Father's Day to everybody. Happy Father's Day. And thank you for your leadership and reminding me of that. I think we're now to the last item, which is item 13, which is the adjournment. And this is an announcement for the adjournment. The next regular meeting of the Richland 1 Board of School Commissioners will be held on June 25th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Stevenson Administration Building, SAB, at 1616 Richland Street, Columbia, South Carolina 29201. We now stand adjourned.